Candidates. Well, that didn't go too awful badly, which is one microphone did it. As you can see, we used for our baby seals, we used the veterans benefits as our baby seals in our discussion tonight. So that's kind of why we kept going down that path. Thank you so much, Esther. You did a great job. She's only taking it's not easy to get up here in front of people and speak. I'm a computer geek. I'm not a speaker, so it takes some practice, and I got a long way to go. For the record, the questions that we did tonight, the people that organized this event put in topics or actual questions as suggestions. We handed them all out. Everybody marked off 4 questions that they liked. We counted up who had the most, the top votes, so that's how we got the questions tonight, the subjects. Fortunately, it was a lot of current event stuff, and we asked some questions to try to see how they would vote constitutionally and stuff, and I think we got some great answers. So thank you, candidates, for that. Okay, the final portion of the program here, we're running pretty well on time, almost just a couple of minutes late, so we'll just move right along. We will stick with the 2-minute closing statement. The first one to go is Democrat Steve Hodges. Just skip that for now.
Okay, all right, that's great. Folks, this election is going to be very important. For the last 30 years, the Emerson family has represented us and represented us well. But I think 2 of the things that are going to be very important as I look about this room, I see a lot of gray hair. Social Security and Medicare. Now, I know that my mom and dad depend on that. They're both 86 and they're in great health. And I think it's very important that we preserve those programs. For myself personally, it might mean something to me next year. I'm 64 years old. I've been a businessman in southeast Missouri. I've raised my family. I participated in the communities I told you, and I know what southeast Missouri is about. I know about agriculture. I've worked on a farm. I've driven a tractor. I've loaded watermelons. I'm on the Delta Advisory Committee. I know this economic engine for us is agriculture in this area. I'm familiar with all those things. And I tell you, I'm the best candidate for this job. I feel the pain of what the suffering and the indiscretions and some of the challenges that people in southeast Missouri have. People in Washington, D.C. right now, a lot of them don't understand that. They don't understand that. Agriculture areas are shrinking. We're losing population and we're losing representation. So I'm going to ask all of you to consider which one of us would go to Washington, D.C. and represent us best. And I'm going to ask you to vote for Steve Hodges because I think I'm that person. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hodges. Our next candidate to speak is Republican Jason Smith.
Thank you. One of the most important traits that you can find in an elected official is honesty. Honesty. That means speaking the truth. Let's get it straight right here. My opponent this morning, right there, put a campaign ad saying that I wanted to dismantle Social Security for seniors. I'm telling you right now, that's a lie. What I will tell you is that we have promises made to seniors. And anyone over 50, we need to uphold those promises. We also need to uphold the truth. What I will tell you, I have served in the Missouri House for the last 7 years with this gentleman. I've passed numerous pieces of legislation to reduce burdensome rules, to balance the budget, to reform entitlements. I've passed those bills. He's never passed anything. All that he's done is collected his per diem and cast a vote. What we do not need in Washington, D.C. is another person that's just going to be up there and be a guest boy for Nancy Pelosi or Barack Obama. Right now, I will never, ever vote for Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House. I can tell you that. The last time she was Speaker, we got Obamacare. The last time she was Speaker, we got all these regulations on our local community banks. Folks, we need to get serious about it. We need to stop all this jargon of people trying to act like they're conservative, say they're pro-life, they're pro-gun. This gentleman right here, I had to stand up against our own Speaker of the House this last couple weeks in session by voting no against a bill that was trying to put us $1.2 billion in deficit spending, exactly what we hate in Washington. My Democrat opponent co-sponsored that legislation. If you want a conservative that will fight against Nancy Pelosi, I'm the only candidate that can win this race and beat him.
Thank you, Jason. Our next candidate is independent Tom Brown.
In closing, I'd like to remind everyone here that I am a product of the American dream. My mom raised 6 of us without a dad until I was teenagers, working at Brown Shoe Company until, of course, it went overseas. Then she went to a hat factory. Then what happened? It went overseas. She raised us without government assistance. She didn't get money from my father. My father, I've never seen a picture. I was raised, when I was small, we had toast and sugar or butter and powdered milk in the morning. We worked hard. We were a family. We suffered. We usually only had 1 pair of shoes, and we had holes in our clothes before they were modern. All my brothers and sisters are very successful in life because we know what it means to work. We found out the first and most important thing is family, and our family values are very important. We still stress how important it is. We have a family reunion that has over 100 people that come to it every year. We have an auction that raises money to pay for our family reunion and to give scholarships to our family. My military experience and past job experiences and my education experiences, I believe, will help bring America back to the top. Teamwork is what we need, and I take pride in that as being a coach for 30 years. We need to bring our jobs back. We need affordable medical bills. We need to change the credit rating system. We need to allow the local government to make choices on how our money is spent. I worked 2 jobs going to college and had student loans and carried a 3-point grade point average. I've worked in factories and construction and have taught for 30 years. I see and listen to the children and parents about what the problems are in America. My special interest group is the working person, and I plan on giving all to them to ensure they have a fighting chance at the American dream I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Our next candidate is Libertarian Bill Slants.
Thank you again for having me out here today. Do you expect things to be better next year? If you don't, then why would you consider casting a vote the same way you have in the past? Why would you consider maintaining the status quo and expect things to change? Isn't now the time to consider an alternative? Stop asking yourself, when will they fix this? You or they, you will need to fix this. My platform. I would like to cut taxes. I'd like to see a repeal of all income and corporate taxes. Then, let's end government involvement in healthcare across the board. Let's cut spending. If elected, I will immediately sponsor legislation to eliminate the DHS. They have so effortless. Also, the TSA. Let the airlines take care of their own security, thank you. As well as the EPA, the DEA, and the IRS. I will immediately sponsor legislation to cut the budget of every other federal agency by 10% each year over the next 4 years. The military should remain strong and state-of-the-art. It should be adequate to defend us against all enemies. However, the United States cannot afford the cost in blood and money in maintaining a global empire. We must immediately end our foreign commitments. We need to stop our occupation of other countries and close every foreign military base. Here's my advantage to you. I do not need to be politically correct. I am beholden to no one except you. I have the freedom of never having to answer to special interest. Every policy decision I make will be based on principle, not party ideals. My party does not expect me to toe the party line. The libertarian tent is a pretty big one, and there's enough room in here for all of you. Now let's make history and put the first libertarian ever in Congress this election. Thank you.
candidate is Independent Dr. Robert Jordan.
Well, I have a few comments that I have written down here, but I believe most of the comments that should come from the head and from your heart while we're here. First of all, I'd like to address something about the Obamacare. First of all, do you know that the administrative cost for healthcare in the United States is something like 30 to 40% of healthcare cost? Insurance company CEOs, our own CEOs at our hospitals here are making over millions of dollars apiece. And in Sweden, Taiwan, China, and all that, the administrative healthcare cost is only about 17% from there. So that's a lot of a thing. As I said, I have loved this country and still love it, and will. If you vote for me, I'll still work for you to that. I'm a moderate, conservative candidate with common sense. I will not kowtow to these parties. There. I am the only candidate who have served 2 combat tours in Korea. I sincerely believe, as I said in our Constitution, and I reread it last night, I'm not a millionaire now, nor will I be one after I leave Washington representing you. Washington has got to stop a lot of this waste and fraud and all this. One of the things that has just been recently brought to my attention, that the average salary of anybody in this country is $20,000. It's costing us $80,000 a person for each prisoner that we have in prison now. That is just ridiculous and outrageous that they're making more money for cost for prisoners than we are for their own people. I can't buy your vote, but I'll work hard for it. Once again, there's an old saying that lighting a candle is much better than condemning the dark. Okay, let George do it for you in Congress. That's another old saying.
Thank you, Dr. George. And last but not least, Constitutional Party candidate Doug Ginyard.
Folks, there's been a lot of talk about the Constitution here tonight, but there's only one Constitution Party person before you, one Constitution Party candidate. I intend to use the Constitution as the tool that the founders intended us to use to limit the government, to cut down its size, to cut down its cost, and cut down its intrusion into our daily lives. Cut down its intrusion into our states, rendering them to nothing more than administrative extensions of the central government. Now, I've got some specific plans to take with me to Washington. My legislation will be aimed not at putting limits on the people, but putting limits on the government. We've had enough.
Yes.
The first piece of legislation that I'd like to put forward would be one that would require Congress to do its job, require Congress to examine every federal agency every 10 years. First question to be answered, is it constitutional? Because according to Article 1, Section 8, the powers of the central government are limited and few, and most of our government now exists outside the limitations of our Constitution. Let's take the Constitution back to Washington. I'll carry the message. We need to mainstream our veterans into the civilian medical services. The way our veterans are getting treated is abominable. It's wrong, and it needs to stop. I stand before you with personal experience with a reconstructed left eardrum because the Veterans Administration dropped the ball. If you call the Poplar Bluff facility up today, you'll get the same answer they've given people for years for their feet. You can see the doctor in 30 days. I guess I'm out of time.
Thank you to all the candidates for joining us tonight. Let's give them another round of applause. things we talk about every month at the third Tuesday tea time or at our Open Cape monthly meeting is the fact that we need to engage in civic responsibility and civic authority, which means guiding our representatives on a daily basis. There's plenty of lobbyists in DC and Jeff City lobbying for their own causes. We need to be there lobbying for our own causes too. So what we're passing out now is a long list of all the calendar events that are coming up. Jackson, Cape, school boards, Cape City Council, planning and zoning meetings, our meetings, the various group meetings, the CMO 10 meeting coming up next week. Dennis Fowler speaking, I believe, at your meeting.
Yes, sir.
Next Wednesday. Be sure to go out to CapeCountyTeaParty.org, look at our calendar, it's basically what you got there, but put this on your refrigerator and please go to one meeting this month and see what's going on in your community so you get a better understanding of how you can help move forward towards spending less money, less regulation, and so forth. Our next third Tuesday tea time, our next tea party meeting is June 18th, right here, 6:30 p.m. That's a Tuesday, it's the third Tuesday of the month. And don't forget about the training that I spoke about earlier. Again, I want to thank all the Tea Party leaders that helped put this on. Everybody from Jeannie and Barb and Fred and Elmer that did the sequestration. Michael came in at a pinch at the last minute to help us with the sound. Silvio. Esther did a great job tonight. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Mary. Everybody else back there that I can't see, thank you so very much tonight. Are there any other announcements or anything that anybody needs to say? The other candidate that I mentioned came and showed up out of the blue, never heard of him. Actually, I think I've heard his name before. His name is Wayne Byington. He came in with a card saying he was an independent candidate, that he had filled out the paperwork and was ready to, wanted to take part in our event tonight. We were like, wow, we don't know anything about this. So we offered him the opportunity to speak at this point in the evening tonight, but he's left. So we won't have that issue to concern us. Any other, like I said, is there any other announcements? James?
We have a United States Constitution and a Missouri Constitution back here. They're free for the taking. So the
Yes.
more you know about what it's about, the more you can have ground to stand on.
All right. Thank you so much again for coming. We really appreciate you coming out tonight.